Guild Wars 2 is the perfect MMORPG for me. Exploring every map to get different types of rewards, the combat being super exciting, fun and engaging, the bosses being super epic and fun with 50 plus players, and the fact that by doing all of these things, you're gonna be able to make yourself a legendaries that look super cool and mean a lot to your journey as a player. Everything interacts with itself and with each other in Guild Wars 2. Even after 10 years, the ambitiousness of this game is incredible. Everything fits together perfectly. Even in the worst maps ever made, they still look absolutely stunning. And Arenanet never stops trying their best to make their game the best in the genre. This is why it's so insane to me that people don't believe that Guild Wars 3 is gonna be a great game. You can see this comment, for example. Remember, Arenanet had a huge turnover since 2019. All the employees, apart from Colin, the guy who killed the Age of Conan, that made Guild Wars 2 are gone. Even if they're making Guild Wars 3 and it's cancelled like the slew of the other projects, it will be currently made by people only there for a paycheck. I could not disagree more. And in this video, we're gonna see every reason why Guild Wars 2 is being made by one of the most talented teams in the MMORPG genre right now, and why they're so passionate that the only real MMO I'm excited for right now is Guild Wars 3. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch me live every morning, and let's get into it. Now, I know that we don't have a confirmation for Guild Wars 3. It could be something else. It could be Guild Wars 2.5. But just for the sake of argument, let's assume that this is what it is. One of the biggest reasons why people are so afraid is because they think that Guild Wars 2 was only made great by the people who made it originally. And there is a lot of truth to that. The game on release was absolutely insane. There was no game like it. The exploration, the horizontal progression, the dungeons, the combat, it was just unparalleled. Everybody was playing this game. Angry Joe Show, Creeparian, Soda Pop, and Shroud, everybody was playing this game. Guild Wars 2 when it released was absolutely magical. Leveling up while exploring every map to get vistas and finish all the maps, getting rewards every time, finding little events to do all around with other people while you're exploring everything around you, and then suddenly encountering a huge boss that everybody has to gather around to kill was just so immersive, and it made the entire game feel real. The world felt alive, and there was all these many reasons to go through it and explore it. But that didn't prevent the game to having a bit of a rough time. Guild Wars 2 being dead was such a meme around the MMORPG community. Everybody thought it was not worth playing for a long time after release, and it even keeps happening now. We will get to why that is the case, but it's undeniable that Guild Wars 2 had a lot of problems through the years that made a lot of people not comfortable investing themselves into this game and play something else like World of Warcraft, for example. Guild Wars 2 did not kill World of Warcraft, even if it was revolutionary for its time. And this is one of the reasons why people in some ways want something like Guild Wars 3 to live up to that potential that in some ways never was. And people use examples like the latest expansions, Secrets of the Obscure and Jantha Wilds, to say, see guys, they don't have the talent they used to have in core. They don't have the magic. They can no longer do this. Guild Wars 3 will never work because they don't have the people that made Guild Wars 2 great at the start. But I think this is wrong, and I think Visions of Eternity has proved that wrong. Every one of the maps in this expansion has been the pinnacle of what Guild Wars 2 design is and what makes Guild Wars 2 great. The absolute beautifulness of all of these maps, plus the interactions between elite specs and hero points and all these very cute little references and details that the expansion has, the jumping puzzles on each of these maps, 3 per, with every one of them having a different gimmick to them to make it more original. Like this one, you have to bring a little chick to its nest. The grottos underneath the earth, there's this huge ship in one of them. The special events like the whale, you have to just pull it into the water. Everything is just so original and so filled of love. This is what the Guild Wars 2 is and always has been. And seeing that they can do this again just fills me with such hope for the future. Even comparing it to something like Core or HOT, arguably the best moments for Guild Wars 2, I see a lot of that in Visions of Eternity. A lot of effort, a lot of very good design. The elite picks are very, very good as well. Yes, they have their issues, it's not the perfect expansion, but it does have the potential of being, at the very least, the second best expansion ever, in my opinion, if not the best one ever. We'll definitely have to see. And you're gonna say, no, Heart of Thorns was better. It was the best expansion, and Arenanet of now could never do something like this. I'm sorry, but Arenanet made a lot of mistakes during Heart of Thorns. And a lot of mistakes during Core as well. Mistakes that they've grown out of. Mistakes that preventing them from dethroning something like World of Warcraft and being the top MMORPG. Let's stop pretending like Guild Wars 2 is the perfect game and has never made any mistakes. It's easy to think, oh yes, Arenanet could never do something great because they did before and they're no longer there. It's easy to see the mistakes from now and forget the old ones, but that's just not true. For example, there were no raids on release, only dungeons, and the progression wasn't really there. The game didn't really make a lot of sense. Dungeons also got instantly abandoned as the people who actually called them were no longer in the company and the devs no longer knew how to make dungeons anymore. Realistically, the only content that there was actually in the game back then was War vs. World. And that was super cool, but people got very lost about what they had to do in the game. It was not like World of Warcraft where you knew that you had to go to raids. This was way more free and this really affected the game. And this is without thinking about the drama, guys, because yeah, there was a lot. One of the biggest content creators for Guild Wars 2 at the moment, Creeparian, got permabanned from abusing a bug, and even though he was definitely on the wrong, permabanning did a lot of damage to the game. Living World Season 1 was supposed to bring the game back after launch, but instead it just created content that was deleted after it came out, giving people nothing to do. And they decided to launch it by giving us one sign on the first update that told us to come back next week. Not the best. Even though Heart of Thorns was very, very well received and is arguably the best expansion for Guild Wars 2, the balance was all over the place. Chronomancer completely destroyed esports and made that very unfun to watch. Raids never did very well as they had no difficulty settings and people couldn't really get into them. We're barely gonna get difficulty settings like real ones in a few months. And sadly, the game it never really found its footing. In HOT, it was about hardcore players. In Path of Fire, it was about the story, about the mounts, not about trying to kill a big boss. This made the game way less successful. People started to quit as they saw no future in the game and the money was running dry. And by 2019, it was too late. The game was not doing well enough and they had to do a big amount of layoffs. The game was dying and they had to do something to bring it back. So please guys, let's not be bad faith here and say that Guild Wars 2 was perfect until the new Arenanet came out. And they ruined it with the new releases and the new expansions. The game has been struggling through the entirety of its life cycle. But then something happened. They didn't give up. They did Icebrood Saga to try and build up the studio, trying to bring back the game and make some money while doing it. Sadly, they had to cancel it or just rush it at the end, but they did it for a very good reason. To make the best expansion that they've ever done. End of Dragons. I know a lot of people say that it's HOT, but End of Dragons did something different. They did a little bit of everything. They did open world. They did story. They did strikes, essentially raids. They did everything that Guild Wars 2 does well in one expansion, bringing the game back from the dead. The strike hard modes were the most difficult we've ever had and the most fun as well. The open world metas were the most epic and fun. And the story finalized a 10-year storyline. It was absolutely great. And it felt like finally Guild Wars 2 had understood what it was about. They brought Guild Wars 2 to Steam. They gave drops to streamers. They did an insane amount of quality of life for new players to get back in. They released Living Wars Season 1. Again, so there was an actual connection between the story and Living Wars Seasons. They fixed the game. And this was all from the new team. But Darren's, the last expansions have been horrible. The story's horrible. The encounters are bad. Even you've said this in multiple videos. And you are right. These expansions haven't been the best. And that's putting it mildly. These yearly expansions have not the best story. They're full of reused assets. And it's clearly rushed. But why is this the case? It's obviously because they're working on something else. Arenanet has been hiring from these positions for the Unannounced project since 2022, just after Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons Gauntlet released. And just after that, they started working on expansions that are way more chill in terms of content, full of reused assets, even though they're making more money than they ever had, finally making the game profitable enough to keep going. Coincidence? I don't think so. The reason why the latest expansions have been so disappointing is not because they're not capable of doing great things, it's because they just can't with the resources they have. And with the amount of employees and money they make, they absolutely should be able to do as much content as they were doing back in Living Wars Season 4. Guild Wars 2 used to get way more content with the same amount of people developing it. Like, look at this: Daybreak, the Beneficent Zone, Twilight Oasis Fractal, a raid at the same time, plus Astral and Stellar weapons, and a legendary. Bug in the system, new zone, new mastery is actually interesting, plus another legendary. Long Live the Lich, Domain of Korna, which is not the best map, that is true, but still a robot beetle, plus Mastery's Fort, a new Fractal and new legendary. A Star the Goddess, Jahai Bluffs, plus a new raid, plus Elegy and Requiem armor, which both look absolutely insane even now, and another legendary. If you compare this to anything we have gotten through Secrecy Obscure and Jump the Wilds, it's just not even close. Not only in terms of quantity, but also in terms of quality. Maybe we're kind of getting there. It's not even really close, honestly, but you could maybe argue that it's kind of similar in terms of the amount of stuff, but the quality of all of these encounters, metas, maps, no. It's just, no, not even close. And there are good parts of these new expansions. Lowland Shores, for example, is an absolutely beautiful map with very cool bosses, like the arena with the bears that look absolutely great. Convergent CMs are super fun and interesting, as well as pretty challenging if you want to go for the CMs. The new weapons have always been absolutely insane, as well as the new specs that we're gonna get very, very soon. The stories being told in each of the books in Soda and Jump the Wilds is absolutely great. I know that shouldn't be the only way that you like the story, but if even Wilton Potatoes likes Vavaniso's story and Jump the Wilds story because of it, that counts for something. The Wizard's Bolts, all of its rewards as well as new mounts. The Star Kit and the new place to show up your weapons as well. And the biggest and most important, best thing they've done through these expansions, the bikini. The talent is here. It's not a problem of whether they are capable of it. It's a problem of having the resources. And I think showing these things, it's pretty obvious. They even did Wing 8. This made zero sense, considering that raids were essentially dead. And kind of still are a little bit. But they did it because they wanted to, because they thought it was the best thing for the game, and because they wanted to make bosses like this. They wanted to make something hard, even though that many people don't play them. Do you think Arenanet made push because of making money? Do you think they made alliances to make money? Do you think they made Sarah CM or a CM Wing 8 for money? Of course not. These were passion projects, because Arenanet is a company of passion. That is who Arenanet is. A company that does stuff because they want to, because it's art, because it's a game, not because they want to make money. That is honestly one of the issues that Guild Wars 2 has had throughout these years. If they would have focused on making money from the start and not as much doing exactly what they wanted, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. But finally, they're understanding to have a balance between those two things. And I think that's very important and will be very important whenever their next game come out. But one thing I am completely sure is that they have the talent, they have the will, and they will do their best to make their best game they can ever make. Other MMOs, they just want to get in there and make money. They don't want to create an actual video game, one that stands the tests of time, that people want to play, that is not a pay-to-win garbage slop video game. The right MMO could be good, but when is it actually going to be released? And I'm sorry, but they don't have the experience that Arenanet has in terms of making an MMO and keeping it up. The Korean and Asian MMOs, they'll be fun for a few weeks and then, well, die because of their pay-to-win. And the Ghost MMO from Ghostcrawler, even though it looks kinda cool, it seems like it doesn't really have a good direction right now. And yeah, I guess we're gonna get Ashes of Creation's beta, I think, released this month. But I don't know, guys, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have that much of faith on this game. It doesn't look very good. It doesn't look like it's ready or it will ever be ready. And I have way more hopes on a team, on a studio that not only has potential of a new IP that they've been, well, supposedly working on for a long time, but they also have a lot of experience. They have done 2 successful MMORPGs, Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, and now they're relaunching Guild Wars 1 and everybody's super excited for it. Yeah, I'm gonna have that studio way above any other studio that is trying this for the first time. Experience is important, as important as ambition, because without it, ambition just becomes delusion. And I'm not really interested in that. I want to play something, not dream about it. And I'm also super excited to play these indie MMORPGs like Dracantos. They look absolutely beautiful and I know they're gonna do a great job. But at the end of the day, guys, yeah, I am way more excited about something that is a bit more ambitious, and it looks very, well, in theory at least, should be very, very good considering the experience of the studio. And this is why I think Guild Wars 3 is the only MMORPG coming out that actually has a chance of surviving and being a good MMORPG. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is not going to be the case? Do you think there's another MMORPG that you're actually more excited about? I want to know. And you can debate me on stream if you ever want. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch me live every morning. See you guys around. Love you all. Ciao, ciao.